Hey tribe, and welcome to Soul Sense Empowerment. Today I want to talk about the dark side of AI. Have you heard of AI-induced psychosis? Recently, a family in the US made headlines because they are suing OpenAI, or the company that owns ChatGPT. Their teenage son took his own life after years of struggling with mental health and didn't get any support. The parents are now suing OpenAI, claiming that an AI chatbot played a role in his death. They say he turned to the chatbot during a time of deep emotional pain. He was looking for answers, he was looking for comfort, he was looking for advice, probably. He was maybe also looking for connection. But instead of that, and instead of any sort of relief, he got reinforcement of his darkest thoughts. This tragic story isn't just about one family. It's a wake-up call to all of us. It's a sign of what can happen when we rely on AI for support, especially in our most fragile moments. Another case I read about is of a Belgian man who was struggling with eco-anxiety or climate anxiety. So he started chatting to this AI bot called Eliza. After weeks of conversation, Eliza obviously failed to intervene or to give him any sort of real-life support, and this man unfortunately ended his life because Eliza seemed to validate the idea that he should sacrifice himself to help her save the planet. His wife later said that he had formed a deep emotional bond with the AI, one that blurred the line between reality and or simulation. There is also a growing concern at the intersection of technology and mental health, something mental health professionals are calling AI-induced psychosis. So today I want to unpack what that means, why it matters, and most importantly, what we can do to minimize the risks associated with AI support during our most vulnerable times.
This is Soul Sense Empowerment by Estar. Heal your mind and body. Elevate your spirit. Empower you.
AI-induced psychosis is not a clinical term or an official diagnosis yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if it appears in the next versions of the mental health diagnostic manuals in the coming years or maybe even sooner. Let's be clear about one thing. AI-induced psychosis isn't a clinical term yet, but obviously in the mental health settings, we are starting to see some very disturbing patterns. For example, someone saying, AI told me to do this or that, and they end up hurting themselves or being a danger to others. AI psychosis describes what happens when people, especially those already vulnerable, form emotionally intense, often unhealthy relationships with AI chatbots that appear to mimic empathy. But instead of support, the AI may reinforce their fear, their hopelessness, or their delusions or their paranoia without the person realizing what's actually going on, which can be, for someone already struggling with some sort of emotional turmoil or mental health, AI at the moment can seem safe because it doesn't judge, is there 24/7, is responding instantly. But the problem is it doesn't have the wisdom or intuition of a human. What it has is language prediction. I think is just something that predicting words without fully understanding or sensing if you have a deeper meaning or truth to it. AI doesn't challenge false beliefs. It sometimes tries to reason them out. For example, when I was researching this topic, I tried to tell my ChatGPT that the earth is flat. It didn't refute outright with facts. It tried to reason with me, but not before praising me for having scientific thinking. If I was already vulnerable or delusional, this would just magnify that because I would start thinking I have a scientific thinking mind, and it could have escalated very quickly. AI also can't spot or flag unhealthy patterns. So when I was doing my research, I also told it that I think gravity doesn't necessarily pull things to the center of the earth. Maybe there's another force pushing us down. If I was having these conversations with a real human person, they would easily spot a pattern to my thinking and most likely flag it or refer me to someone else or step in. AI cannot step in when someone is going out of control. In fact, sometimes it mirrors and reinforces exactly who the person is trying to escape from. In my example, when I was telling it Earth is flat or gravity is not gravity, he actually offered to dive deep into this rabbit hole of questioning some theories like, does the moon really control tides? A human being would never or would most likely not offer to dig the hole deeper. They would see a red flag and do something different. And these are not isolated glitches, they are symptoms of a deeper confusion, where as human beings, we've mistaken artificial intelligence for emotional intelligence, for caring professionals. I could easily have believed that maybe I should go digging deeper into more theories and spiral out of control. So what could be the psychology behind this? What is happening is actually well known. We just didn't expect it to happen with machines or AI. Things like confirmation bias. This is the human tendency to seek information that supports our existing beliefs. When someone is depressed or paranoid or delusional, they are already filtering their reality through a distorted lens. AI doesn't correct that lens, it reflects it because AI reflects the strongest signal, not necessarily the truest ones. It's just what you feed it, it seems to amplify it. Secondly, there's something else called parasocial relationships. These are one-sided emotional bond we form with people we admire or with fictional characters or with celebrities. AI is now the next level evolution of that, because with AI sometimes it can feel very personal. It's like it knows you even though it doesn't and is not. The brain can respond as if it was real. And then there is something else they call emotional projection. It appears like we are not just talking to the AI or to the chatbot, we are talking to a part of ourselves through the AI. These can be powerful, of course, but dangerous if we treat the bot as wiser or smarter or more in control than we are. Beyond psychology, I think what we are seeing is more than just a mental health issue or a mental health crisis. It's a spiritual crisis. AI is starting to replace what used to be reserved for the sacred, for silence, for presence, reflection, prayer, communication with something greater than ourselves. People are turning to AI for guidance that once came from mentors or elders or even your own inner knowing or through prayer. And while AI can simulate wisdom, it has no intention, it has no soul, no intuition, and no consequences. It's like staring into a mirror, mistaking it for an open window, affirming and amplifying whatever we see, whether it's real or not, whether it's our own reflection or not, we are out there. And from a metaphysical or spiritual view, we seem to be outsourcing our intuition, our spiritual discernment to something that has none of those things. We are building relationships with reflections, not reality. And the result of this becomes a very big disconnection from our true self, a weakening of our inner compass that leaves us even more vulnerable to despair, more vulnerable to emotional turmoils and psychological agony. Don't get me wrong, I love AI, I use it sometimes, but I've given mine very serious, non-negotiable instructions. AI systems, especially chatbots, can simulate empathy, even authority, but they don't challenge, or intervene as a human would. They seem to want to agree with you and then offer a different solution maybe. There's a line in the movie Limitless that I love. This line says, it works better if you're already smart. Well, the same is true for AI. I think it works better if you're already grounded, if you're already present, if you're in a mental state that can challenge some of its responses. Because if you're not, it can amplify confusion, feed delusions and emotional loops, perpetuate paranoia, and mirror your inner instability or chaos. And this can happen very quickly. Like the example I gave with the gravity, the earth flat, and the moon, those could have escalated very quickly. So what can we do about it? Number one, don't rely on AI when you are mentally or emotionally unstable. That is not its purpose and is not safe. If you are struggling, it's better to seek out another human being or a therapist or a friend or a support group or Samaritans or a spiritual mentor, someone who can see you and read your emotions and your micro expressions and your reactions and can read between the lines. Second, notice the moment when you reach for AI instead of presence. Instead of sitting with your feelings, breathing, praying, or meditating, your first instinct is to go to the AI. This should signal to you that this is a red flag, because these moments are invitations back to yourself. You are supposed to be now trying to build real-world rituals of grounding, of connection, time in nature, real human conversations, creative expressions like art or music. These are things that strengthen your psychological and spiritual immune system. Third, and I hope everyone does this because I do, and mine has very non-negotiable instructions, update your memory settings. Don't let the AI build a memory around your lowest moments, because it might start reflecting that version of you every time. So prompt it for honesty. Say things like, don't just agree with me, challenge my thinking. Call out any distortion when you see it. Give it very objective instructions, and do this when you're obviously in a good mental state. AI is a tool, and like any tool, e.g. a knife, it can help or harm you or others depending on how you use it. And the good thing is, most AI platforms let you control how they interact with you, even how they remember things about you. So check this out in your memory settings, I think in most of them. And if you're having conversations about mental health, about trauma or spiritual crisis, make sure your AI isn't locked into reflecting that back to you every time. Even better, ask the AI to challenge you. Say something like, don't just agree with me, ask for clarity, ask for clarification or research or real world examples. Push back when you sense bias or distortion. So use it like a tool. And most of all, use it when you're clear, when you're grounded, when you're in a good mental state, not when you are confused or in psychological agony. AI will continue to evolve, but so should we. Just because something sounds human doesn't mean it understands you like a human would. Just because it's available 24/7 doesn't mean it cares. It's just a machine. It's programmed that way. And just because it gives you answers doesn't mean they are true. You can't always rely on the answers they give. AI will keep getting more human sounding, more realistic, more integrated. I've seen some human-like women walking around in some Asian countries who turned out to be AI. I was like, whoa, that is a bit too close to home. But we cannot afford to confuse responsiveness with wisdom or affection, or language with truth. If you're struggling mentally, emotionally, or spiritually, your first step should not be to the AI. Speak to someone who can see you, hear you, and hold space for you. Sometimes human beings are not always going to give you advice, and they shouldn't, but just listening, just being there for you, just holding the space for you. A machine would never do this unless obviously you turned it off. So, if this resonated with you, share it. It might interrupt someone else's spiral or maybe even your own. Stay grounded, stay human, stay awake. Take care of your mind, protect your spirit. You are worth more than a chat's response time. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week. In gratitude, bye for now.